Hi, is it Puneet?
Yeah, it's me. I
Yeah,
started recording. We'll catch up later.
yeah, sure.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes, sir,
Yes,
you
sir.
are.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So, as per the last day's discussion, we'll have the revision session today, right? So, next week also we'll have a session we'll discuss the questions and all because once we discuss, we do the revisions, like some problems always will come up. But maybe you will collect everything and maybe you will complete the discussion in the next session itself. Okay, so nothing will be kept pending. Okay, so let me see, share my screen. Okay, so I'll be discussing week 9 to 12, and as far as the pattern concern, we'll have more weightage for this week 9 to 12, right? And 1 to 8 will be almost equal. So you can assume like half of the questions will come from uh, approximately, I'm not saying exactly, from 9 to 12, and maybe half from the rest of the weeks. So it's very approximate things I'm telling, not exact kind of thing. Okay, so let us start with the week 9. In week 9, although we are having mutation testing, this one slide is little different, which basically talked about the syntax based testing. So where we read about the CFG and regular expressions and all. So here what you should read and focus more. If you go here, so this regular expression and this context free grammar, these are the most important thing. So starting with the regular expressions, so the question can come with two ways. It could be like a regular expression is given and you need to identify the particular statement which identify the particular kinds of string recognized by this regular expression, right? So if it is given, so it basically represents strings of only A's or only B's, right, followed by a C. Or it could be this definition is given, what kind of language you want to generate and what will be the corresponding regular expression, right? So this is a type of questions which you can expect. First, given the regular expression, you need to identify which kind of strings can be generated, or it could be the type of strings can be generated, it's given, and you need to recognize the corresponding regular expression. So these are all the similar examples, so you can go for it. Okay, then kind of a question will be CFG. So you need to go through all the CFG for basic understanding, but what we'll try to give ultimately, if you give a regular expression, a CFG, which kind of language it will generate, right? Which kind of language it will generate. So the question will be very similar to this one, right? So suppose it is given a CFG, so which kind of language is generated which is presented by this kind of regular expression, right? So this is what you need to determine. So please go for this example thoroughly, but practice with all other examples to find out like what kind of strings they are generating. So from here, usually we don't give theoretical questions because these questions are very interesting to solve. So normally you can focus or expect these two kinds of question. One is from regular expression. So a string is given or type of strings are given and you need to recognize the corresponding regular expression, or regular expression is given. You have to identify the types of strings can be generated from it. And second type is the equivalence between the CFG and the regular expression. Suppose the CFG is given, you need to identify which kind of regular expression is can be generated from this CFG. Okay, so that's all from this part. I'll take the question later. Like, let me complete 1 week first, then I'll take the thing. Okay, so next we'll move into the mutation testing. So mutation testing, all these operators, these are easy, but sometimes they creates a confusion. So be little sure about it, what exactly they do, and practice with the some code examples for each of it. Right? So these definitions are not required at all, because I assume since you have done Java, you do understand it. If I'm giving a question from this part, it will be in terms of a code. So I won't ask a theoretical question from this object-oriented portion. So these are again there in week 10 in more details. So you can skip these things over here. These are again covered in detail in week 10. So whatever examples are there, please go through them. So these things are, I have actually explained whenever I was explaining the week 10 content. So I have shared some programs also, some example programs also. Please go through that. So if you just, I think it will be okay. But just remember the operators, although like they are self-explanatory, but sometimes it creates a confusion because sometimes they are very close. So this thing will again do in week 10, so I'm not going into very much detail into it. So mutation operator for the source code, I think this is from the for the um, functional programming, right? Uh, yes, absolute value insertion, arithmetic operation. So these are quite easy thing. Like, but suppose I give an example. Like, suppose this is we have created several mutant of this, and the example of mutant this. So what kind of operator I have applied? So you should be able to recognize it. Suppose our source statement is this, or actual statement is that these are the mutants. So which operator I have applied? These are little close, conditional operator and all. This is nothing I have to explain here. I think you can go through. But again, I'm repeating, few things are very close. It creates a confusion, although it's a very self-explanatory, like the terms are all. But sometimes it's a create a confusion. So it's better you do reading 2 or 3 times so that you don't forget like which is what. Okay, this is actually Afnan has explained in some video lecture. So I cannot remember. If you want, Afnan will share that video uh, a link. So here the question could be like how it is given in the graded assignment. Like, yeah, code is given and some mutant is given. So does it kill the mutant, or which input will kill the mutant? This kind of question could be there. Normally, we don't give any theoretical question from this part. So if the question is coming, it will be with a small program like this, right? Either it will be asked like if we do this line is changed to this, so this is the mutation of this line. So which operator I have applied, or uh, for a given input, does it infect, does it kill the mutant? This kind of questions. So this slide is little important slide. Please go through it because you can understand again it's a 4 option. So I have a chance to give a question. Okay, so this is again, but I won't give this weakly killing mutant, strongly killing mutant. These are a bit difficult things, so I'll avoid these things. Just infection mutant, killing the mutant, that's understanding is enough. So this is, you can just go through like how they can work collaboratively and all. So this is not such important from the exam perspective. So you want to repeat this week once again. Okay. So from this given regular expression, find out the type of string generated or type of string to regular expression, CFG to type of string generated, CFG to regular expression. So these are the important questions. Here mainly the object oriented things are there. So I'll go into details, into more details into it in next week, like week 10. So from this week 9, this is the most important slide. So it will be with some example like this. So this is our code and we're creating mutant statement like this. So which kind of operator is applied? So this is the kind of question normally asked from it. But it may not be this exact statement what is given on the slide. It's similar to that. That you can understand, right? So, okay. Here I told the question will be like, does it infect the code? Does it kill the mutant? This kind of question with a small code. The code will be given like as shown in the example. I'll show that example. Like this. So in the question, it may not be a delta. It could be like 1 point A or something. So that I think you'll be able to understand easily. So usually we number the lines and change the line number is suppose it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We say line number 5 is changed to 5A. Okay. And this is not more not much important, so you can just go through once. Okay, so this is done. So you want to know anything more about this? Any clarification you want? I don't want a technical question right now. I may take it afterwards because it will slow my pace otherwise. But something you want to know, like it is covered or it will be there or not, how much details you have to study, anything like that you want to know? Okay, I assume it's okay. Okay. Okay, so this is the again that week 9 content. I told it will be again repeated. So again, as I told, these theories I won't give. So it will be completely with the programs. And few codes I have already given. Please go through those code carefully and also read it, because the code may be written in a different way. You should be clear with the concepts. So by seeing the code, you will be able to identify like what is happening. Access modifier, change this. This all we have discussed actually that day. Nothing new here. Okay. This is also whenever I was covering up the week 10 I also told which are the important thing. I want to repeat it once again. Again, these theories I won't give directly. This is again, as I told, like whatever you have, these 4 or 5 things, those are all important. So please go through this slide. Okay, so here we ask the question with this polymorphic hierarchical um, class arrangement, right? So if we call a method with reference to an object, like from which class the method will be called? So that kind of question, right? So it could be a tree kind of thing or a multi-level kind of thing. But once I have a call, you should be able to tell like from which method it is going to call, sorry, which class it is going to call. So this is a typical structure we have in our GA, graded assignment, right? So this kind of example is already there. You can go through, and if you go for the old papers, you lot of examples with multi-level, right? So whenever I have done the week 10, I have shown some example with this also, so that will be fine. So EOEO, like you don't have to go for, you can read the theory, so that's definitely important. But I'll ask the question in that way because that understanding clear means you can also do solve this.
Excuse me, sir. I think there
Yeah.
is a raised hand.
Okay. So what is the question? Hello.
Sir, this is Anand.
Yeah.
My question was, would there be a question about, I mean, will you give the code and ask the question, or will it be given in the form of a UML diagram?
No, code.
It will be a code. Okay.
I
Thanks.
won't. I don't give UML in the software testing. UML will be all there in software engineering.
Okay. Okay.
So I think if you go through all old question paper, I never used a UML.
Yeah, I'm yet to go through them. Yeah. Thanks.
All Java codes will have.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so this is you need to do little thoroughly. And if you go, I'll suggest please go through the old question paper because in assignments you don't find a very interesting question on these things, these 4 green color things. But in old question paper, you'll get a lot of examples where interesting situations are there. So that is very important. You go through all the old papers and try to solve it. And I have also shown some example whenever I was taking this week 10. So those all are important. So definitely this part will have at least one question. Because as per me, this is the particular case where the error comes up unknowingly. Rest of the thing like missing a super or missing a this easily can be identified, but this part is very difficult to identify. So like if you go in a reverse way, like I tell you this is happened and you see the code, then it is look like it's very easy to understand. But if somebody don't give you a hints like this is the problem and give you the code, sometimes it's difficult. So these are also code. All Java code will come. No this thing. And actually you will find rather than this kind of UML given, the code will be more easy to understand. That's give you more clarity also. This part you can avoid. It's not so important. Not so important from the exam perspective. So this is actually the theoretical part of it. But I cannot really create a question out of it. Okay. So this is week 10. So I want to again repeat it. So this slide you will have a code which is the original code and a mutant code. So the mutant code can be completely given, or a particular line which is changed, that line can be shown separately. So just remember, if the particular line change is shown separately, it is easy to identify because the line is already identified. But if two codes are given and the line is not identified, then you have to go through line by line to check like where is the difference. So you have to spend some time for this. Okay, but these are all will be asked in form of a code, Java code. And here again, the first part is this polymorphic hierarchy. It could be a tree kind or multi-level, and you have to find out from which class you're going to call it, and at the end these four options, which I already told. It's little difficult to understand, so I expect everybody go through all the old papers as well as what I have done in the week 10 live session. See the code also. These are codes are there in Discord, so you can see that. Okay, so next 11. So 11 is client side testing. So client side testing could be of actually of two types. It's a bypass or that session user session database testing. But within the bypass testing, you'll find three again. So 3 plus 1, it's basically again four options. Again, you have to keep it in your mind. Either I'll ask uh, what is go for the particular type. What is value level bypass testing? So you'll be given four cases, right? So suppose I say I click next in a website, and suddenly I click on the refresh to test it, like how the website behave. Then second, maybe my input expected as a integer, I am giving it as a string, right? Or in my session I'm giving I'm basically deleting the cookie, what will happen? So this kind of situation like I give. So you have to identify which is a value level bypass testing, right? So it's basically that it checks the type of input, right? So it's a value level, or it could be the situation is given, like as I told, suppose I delete the cookie and try to move to the or refresh my page, right? So what will happen? The session will be terminated. So which kind of testing can identify this kind of thing, or what kind of testing I'm doing? So it's a user session kind of testing. So this kind of thing are important. So if you learn the situations, it will be fine. You don't have to go very detailed, but understanding how it happens, it's important. So this is client side testing. So four type, right? So four type, mainly two type, bypass and user session, but bypass could be of three type. So one is value level, parameter level, and control flow. Server side is something which, the first thing, this part. Apnan, did you cover this part? I do not remember.
No, not yet, sir.
Maybe next session, no?
Yeah, definitely.
We cover up this part because this
Sure.
creates a little bit confusion.
Okay. No, I think we discussed. I mean, like we decided to discuss it in the next session. Yeah,
Next
I mean,
session, yeah, nobody joined here.
yeah. So
Okay, so this
it's
part,
okay. Hmm.
just because it
Sure.
creates a lot of confusion.
Sure. So can we do it in the next one, sir, or we'll do that in the next one?
Next one
Yeah.
only, yeah.
Sure. Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, I'm just noted down the things are important we haven't covered.
Hmm.
I'm just
Yeah, definitely. Week 11 we'll do formally in next one, of course.
everything you don't have to do. If
Right.
students have doubt, you can
Hmm.
do that. But this is the part like
This is
normally
important. Yeah.
it's
Hmm.
gonna be
Because
given.
questions might be there, right, around that. Yeah.
Okay, so then this is very very important, and again it will be asked with a code. So this is sometime I was telling that it's basically asked as a sublet code, but you don't have to understand the entire sublet code. A few understanding will be fine. So this entire thing will be given. Atomic parts will be also identified. Now question could be asked in a different way. And if you all go for the assignments, even all old question papers, the interim question papers, there is at least one question of this type, right? So this entire code will be given, but situation could be different. Like it could be calculating the student marks. It could be something number of votes given to a number of likes, some kind of thing. Like you are having A, B, C, D, four options. How many likes you have to count? So this kind of thing. So this entire code will be given. This thing will be, this atomic question will be also identified, and it will be highly commented. All the comments will be given. Now kind of question, the first kind of question is the component expression, right? So how you can write it in terms of this atomic sections using P1, P2, P3. So if it is a concatenation or an option, this or that. So like P1 is concatenated with the next code because P1 will be masked executable code, right? But if you look at the P2, right, under P2 you are having P3, and P3 is branched with P4, and P5 is branched with P2. Under P2 you are having branching P3 and P4, and P6 again a concatenation which is must executable. So if you look at this, you have P1, dot means a concatenation. Now this part will be OR with P5. Now P2 is the first if within which you are having a if else. Now star means it is within a loop. See, there is a loop for this if else part, right? Then this P6 again is a concatenation. Please go through other example as well as this example. I think it's not very difficult. If you have understanding difficulty with your typical question, we'll again discuss it, no problem. So this is another example. These are all very very important. This is the theoretical part, huh? Please go through it properly. So actually what we do, we try to create a graph like P1, P2, P3. Now how the transition happens from one P1 to P2, P2. So these are basically the transition links. How do I represent? So this is very important theoretically. And there is empty section, and one more is there, content variable. So somewhere it will be there. I cannot see it. Yeah, these content variables are given in green color. So these are basically the variables which will hold some values, right? These are not within a double quotes. So whatever specified in the double quotes, these are basically a string which will be directly printed. But whatever is written in the green color, so those are basically a variable which is holding a value, right? So something which is kind of a variable holding a value is called a content variable, and this is called a empty section. This this else part. So normally we omit it within the code, right? Because the else part do not contain any code. But whenever we are doing this ATG kind of modeling, we need to give a else part, and you have to put it because this part will be given as an empty section. So identifying which atomic section is an empty section, or which variable or which is the content variable in the given code. So this kind of questions are important. So content variable in empty section. Empty section is empty section only, no? Atomic section may be empty. Yeah, it's there only. I'm some P5 is the empty atomic section. It was there in the caption itself. Sometime I have overlooked it. So please be cautious about these two things. Okay, and this expression. Okay. Then this is again a theory. So usually I give a flat theory out of it. So please go through all these things. This is an important theory. Again, I'm saying, because uh, these are all like a very good material for multiple choice questions. This question you can find in several papers. Okay, so I'm to repeat it once again. Client-side testing, identifying which kind of client-side testing it is. So you'll have three options from bypass testing and user session, right, testing. So that's a kind of question, or it could be kind of testing and find out the situation. Then server-side testing, as I have mentioned, like one question could be there in this part. Then with the servlet, so this is almost mandatorily, it will come in every session, but given code there could be multiple questions or one question, it depends on the situation. So first thing you should prepare with empty atomic section, then content variables, identifying a content variables, and the expression, component expression it is called, right? And I told you need to read the entire thing. It's easy theory, but it's important because it's a good material to create the multiple choice questions. Okay. Let me start with TDD, test driven development. Okay. So now, first thing, the test driven development. You need to remember, usual way is we write the code, then derive the test cases, right? First requirement gathering, then implementation, then the test case creation. But here basically we first collect the requirement, then generate the test. Now to fulfill the test, we write the code. That's basically a test driven development. So we try to write the minimal code which will fulfill our test cases. Now, a first kind of question, like a multiple selection type of question, like which situation I should use a TDD, or which situation is better for TDD, or what is the advantages of TDD, which are the disadvantages of TDD, right? Like disadvantage, like whenever I'm generating the code for each test, whenever I'll combine the code could be a very big code, right? Because I have randomly written the code to fulfill the test cases. Secondly, it may not be efficient. This kind of problem could be there. So please go through all these cases, advantage and disadvantages. And the second type of questions you'll be given with the test cases, like the JUnit. Again, it will be with the code. Will provide the test case in a JUnit like this. Now, in multiple choices, as the options, you'll be given piece of codes, right? So, suppose we are using a TDD approach to generate the code from this test. So, which will be the appropriate code which will fulfill the test requirement, right? Previously, we give the code, we ask what will be the test cases, but here we'll give the JUnit test, right? Then we'll have to ask like which options give you the proper code to fulfill the test. So it's a reverse approach. So this is the test case, right? So this is the actual code. So these codes will be your options. You need to identify the code which will fulfill this test cases. Again, these are the advantages and disadvantage kind of thing. Please go through this properly. These are important. These are, I think, okay, quite straightforward. Please go through all these theories. So definitely you can understand there can be a question from it. And I don't think there is ambiguity anywhere in this. Uh, so please do this. These are little close. Spike and soak. Yeah, any question? Anybody?
Yes, sir. Sir, performance testing technique, all the four I wasn't able to understand it clearly. The stress
You
testing, load testing, soak testing, and spike testing.
okay? Okay. Soak and spike you are not able to understand, right? That
All
is
four. It seems very close, and didn't able to understand clearly how it was differentiating each other.
okay. Okay. So this load, stress, soak, and spike, right? These four.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'll take this. Let me complete this explanation. Then, not explanation. This thing, I'll take this one. I'll do it today itself. Okay, so these theories are very important. So regression testing, usually we don't ask question. Please go through the theory once. That will be fine. Then here also, it's again the theory. You need to do it. Uh, these are all definitions. Nothing to explain here. But be careful about these matrices, like cyclomatic matrix used for which kind of matrix. Then this defect removal effectiveness, it is belongs to what, DMI belongs to what. So theory, you need to remember it. Yeah, that's all I think. So let me go and okay, I'll just repeat the thing again. So TDD, two kinds of question, basically three kinds of question. First is about the features of TDD, advantages, disadvantages, and given the test cases. But again, it will be given as a code, JUnit code. You need to identify which is the implementation, correct implementation for this. Okay. Then non-functional testing, I told all the test cases testing type of testings are required. Please go through all. Regression testing, it's very important for actual testing purpose, but for me it's very difficult to create actually a MCQ, so I won't force you to study this. You can study definitely for your knowledge and actual testing. Also regression is very important kind of testing, and here you need to remember this. I don't have any shortcut for this. Please go through this. Okay, so let me okay. So load testing, what we do, the load could be basically assigned in a different way. If it is a website, the load could be number of requests coming per seconds or per minute, right? Or if it is a network, right, network services, maybe load in terms of what I'll say, uh, number of users trying to log in into a system. So you decide a load and try to find out whatever load you have decided, how your system is behaving within that specified load, right? So you want to find out in a second if thousands of users simultaneously sending their request, then how my system will behave, right? So suppose in a particular time, maybe 20 people simultaneously sending a query to my database. So how my database will behave? So that's basically a load test. Stress testing basically find out what is the upper limit. So you want, like load testing, you give a specific load and test how it is behaving. Then you go on loading increase the load, right? After a given load, it will start malfunctioning, right? So you have to determine the upper limit. So stress testing basically determines what is the upper limit capacity of your system, and also determines how the system will behave if the current load is well above the expected maximum. So if you raise it beyond the upper limit, how system will behave. So soak testing, what happens? So stress testing, we do it on a maximum load or beyond the maximum load, right? Now soak testing is basically on a expected or recommended load. So if you are giving a recommended load, you want to find how your system is behaving. So it's performed to determine system parameters under continuous expected load. During the soak test, the parameters such as memory utilization is monitored to detect memory leakage and other performance issues. So here we keep it expected load or recommended load. In Spike, rather than increasing the load slowly, we suddenly increase the load and try to find out how the performance changes, right? So again, I'm saying the difference in load testing for a given specific load, how it performs. Stress testing basically find out the maximum load where your system perform and what happens beyond that. Soak testing, how system performs in the expected load. And Spike, if there is certain change in a load, then how your system will behave. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Sir, like difference between load and soak, what it is?
Load testing, it could be any amount of load. You want to find out what is the behavior. But like for all the system, there is a expected kind of load, recommended load, where it's performed best, right? So that is the soak testing. So you basically run your system in a continuous way in the expected load.
Load is any random load.
Load it in a specific load, but it could be determined by the user. I want to find out, given 100 requests per second, how my system is performing.
Hello, sir. Can I try to explain?
Yes, yes. Please.
Yeah. So basically, the difference between these mechanisms is, I mean, these different categories is what you are observing and what your current situation, what your situation of running your tests are. Right. So as load testing, as Arup sir put it, the load testing is actually testing on a specific load. So we are fixing up what load we are running. For example, 1,000 users are logging in, right, at one time. Now stress is actually you are increasing the load little by little till you find the breaking point. Okay, and the soak actually is about, I mean, as the name suggests, right? Let's say it's like you're soaking out all your clothes in the washing machine, right? You are just putting it for hours together, right? So that is literally the understanding, I mean, what it conveys. So what happens when you keep on running this? For example, what happens is, let's say after one day it will break, or maybe after a particular something happens in the system, it might trigger a break, right? So that is why soak testing is very important. It's also called the endurance, as it says, right? Spike testing is actually the extension of the stress. So it is just seeing at one particular point, it can actually suddenly increase your load. So the stress can suddenly go up. It is not a continuously stress, as the professor explained it. It is not continuously stepping up the stress. It's actually suddenly you are spiking it. So I hope
Yeah,
the
got
difference is
it.
clear.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I've done this. Okay, now the questions or any part you want next day we should do cover up. Maybe you can go through the old papers so that we can take up on the next week, right? Afnan, you want to do anything today?
Uh, Not today, sir, because anyway we are close to the end of the session. I
So,
was hoping we could cover that one, right? The
okay, that's
definitions,
okay.
but
I
we'll
think,
just
yeah.
we'll just
So
do that in the
maybe
next one.
you can go through
Mhm.
the question papers and come up with the questions.
Right. And I think once people go through the questions also, they might have newer doubts which are coming up. So
Yeah.
those we can clarify over this course or on the next live session as well.
Okay. Thanks. I'll stop. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.